Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Imagine the set lights dimming, a hush falling across a studio that has known laughter, arguments, and morning routines for decades. The camera lingers on a familiar face, bright, practiced, human, and for the first time in a long while, the smile falters. Then, before millions watching at home, she stands, voice cracks, and the words every viewer thought impossible leave her lips. What happens next will change how we remember the mornings of a generation. Stay with me, because the goodbye is not just an ending, it's a mirror. They said mornings on live television are routine: a cup of coffee, a quick quip, a shared joke that lands like clockwork. Routine until it isn't. Today's routine unravels like a ribbon pulled through a door, smooth at first, then catching, then snapping. Our opening shot is intimate: the desk, the mug with lipstick at the rim, a stack of cue cards, a crease in her sleeve from yesterday's laughter. The floor is the same, the cameras are the same, and yet something in the air hums differently, like a record you remember from your youth, slowed by a finger. That small change is the story's first secret, and you'll soon see how one quiet confession can set off ripples bigger than any storm. We remember celebrities through their public personas, the polished jokes, the fierce loyalty to a co-host, the effortless banter. But behind every on-air persona is a private history as layered as a family album: triumphs, regrets, mornings when curtains remained closed. As she rises from the desk, there's a visible tightness at her jaw, a preparedness that suggests this moment has been rehearsed in private, not for ratings, but for release. When she begins, it isn't just about leaving a set or a show. It's about stepping away from a role that has defined her to millions. And when someone gives up a role that helped write their life, the people who watched feel a quiet bereavement, the end of a shared ritual. The camera switches between close-ups, her hand on the microphone, fingers tracing a logo that's become a cultural icon. It's a gesture that anchors the scene. For the audience, aged 60 to 65, watching in their kitchens, living rooms, or with knitting in hand, this is not just a celebrity's exit. It's a moment that speaks to transitions they themselves have experienced: retirement, moving, children leaving home. You, the viewer, understand the ache and the possibility. This is why the goodbye resonates. It meets you where you've stood before, with a suitcase half packed for a future you hoped for and feared. And then she tells a story, one that isn't on the cue cards. It's small and precise, a memory of when the studio smelled like fresh paint and a janitor hummed a tune that no one else noticed. In that memory is a young version of her, full of reckless hope, making her first awkward joke that somehow landed. That memory is used as a pivot from the innocence of beginnings to the weight of years. The pivot draws us into the human timeline that built the celebrity. The audience hears details that feel like family lore: a lost verse of a theme song, a backstage nickname, the fold of a scarf that always followed her. Each detail nudges the stunned viewers closer, because these little truths are how we recognize shared humanity. You can feel the studio leaning in. The co-host's eyes, normally the anchor of steady jokes, flicker between confusion and something like grief. Production stops its usual chatter. The floor manager's hand freezes mid-gesture. It's all hush. Live television is famously unforgiving. Mistakes become memes. Tears become headlines. Yet in this fragile silence, something rare occurs: vulnerability unedited. The host's voice breaks, not for dramatic effect, but because stories that have been carried for years are finally being set down. And when someone lets go, they invite everyone who ever laughed with them to share a piece of the letting go. She speaks of a choice, an invisible hinge she has carried: to stay, to keep the ritual of morning comfort alive for others, or to step away and rediscover silence. The decision is framed as courage, but not the roaring kind. It's quiet courage, the kind that asks you to sit with uncertainty and trust yourself anyway. For viewers who've made similar choices, to retire, to move, to leave long marriages or habits, the resonance is immediate. The applause that follows is not just the sound of fans, it's the echo of a community recognizing its own bravery. Still, the story leaves an unanswered beat. What will she miss most? That question hangs between breath and camera like a cliff at the edge of a beloved book. She answers with a memory of a small thing, a viewer's handwritten letter that she kept in a desk drawer for years. The letter wasn't about gossip or praise, it was a confession about a small kindness the show had provided on a bleak morning. The writer, a retired teacher from Ohio, wrote that the show's gentle tone made them hold on to hope. The memory is tender because it shows the show's real currency, not ratings, but human connection. That's a theme older viewers know well. The things we think are entertainment often carry the invisible work of keeping people connected. There's a hush now, and the camera lingers on a tear catching the light. You can see a single bead of affection for all those mornings. Then she speaks of fear. Public personas are often built as armor. Removing them can feel like stepping into a rainstorm without an umbrella. Yet her fear is not dramatic. It's the soft, unflashy fear of someone asking if their life still matters without the role that gave it shape. She confesses to nights awake when the vanity mirrors lied about time and the calendar seemed like a cliff. Her honesty is a lifeline for viewers who have stared at similar cliffs of reinvention. She frames fear as a friend who teaches us where to lean, not as an enemy. That framing is surprising because we rarely hear public figures speak of fear with such tenderness. The goodbye includes laughter, the kind that rises from shock and then softens into gratitude. She tells a quick, self-deprecating anecdote on an on-air flub from decades ago, a coffee spill that became a running joke. The room releases a full, startled laugh, and in that shared humor, the audience finds relief. Humor, she reminds viewers, has always been her tool for translating pain. It's a bridge between the unbearable and the bearable, and it invites the audience to laugh through tears, a paradox we all know too well. That mix of tears and laughter is part of what makes a live farewell unforgettable. It compresses a lifetime into a feeling. As she moves through the speech, she names names, crew members who held a lamp when there was no light, producers who whispered on impossible nights,
Became more than an on-air sparring partner, a confidant. These named shout-outs do more than recall faces. They build a map of community. For viewers of a certain age who have built their lives around similar communities of work, faith, or family, the shout-outs validate the idea that success is rarely solo. It's collaborative, messy, and sustained by small, nearly anonymous acts of service. The audience recognizes these invisible holds, neighbors who fed the cat, a brother who loaned a car, and the connection grows warmer. Midway through, she reveals a secret plan, an unexpected detour that changes how the audience interprets the entire farewell. She doesn't leave for rest or retreat. Instead, she says she's stepping aside to become a student again, of craft, of life, of quiet things. She'll volunteer in a community garden, learn a language she once half promised to herself, and take long, aimless walks. The surprise is small but huge. The television star choosing ordinary life as an act of audacity. To our audience of 60 to 65-year-olds, many of whom have retired or are considering it, this choice reads like permission. It reframes retirement from a closing statement into an invitation to start again, and the idea is liberating. Then comes the first cliffhanger. She pauses and tells the viewers there is one final surprise planned for the show, a secret performance, a revelation, a letter read live from someone whose life was changed by a quiet gesture. She smiles, but the smile carries the weight of a secret kept too long. Cut to commercial, but we don't cut. Instead, the producers honor the moment and take us behind the scenes, the crew in silence, a makeup artist holding her hand. The camera gives us a backstage look that normally remains invisible. For those watching who have ever stood backstage of their own lives, caring for a parent, waiting at a hospital room door, this is a gentle reminder that the unseen moments are often the most heroic. Commercials blur into return, and she returns with a letter in hand, not read by her, but by a voice we all recognize as ordinary, an audience member who stands up and speaks live. The letter is raw, a testimony about loneliness, about a spouse who left, about late-night gratitude for a show that kept someone company. The reading is quiet, almost fragile, and it reframes the farewell into a communal act. Suddenly, the goodbye isn't merely the star departing, it's the community acknowledging the ways they sustained each other. For older viewers who kept the same routines for decades, Sunday dinners, bingo nights, a call to a sibling, there is a shared inhale. This is the power of television at its best. It joins lives.